a lot of people have bits and pieces of information about the real estate market, but it's hard to put it all together unless you're doing this full time and unless you have the tools that we have access for. You know, so we're living in a day and age, like our parents, grandparents, like they bought one house and they lived in it forever and raised a family. That's not the way anymore. Most people on average buy a house and move every 5 to 10 years. So finding a realtor that you can trust and help you work through all of the phases is really key. Yeah, today I want to talk about tips on how to sell in a hot market, and also you'll kind of gain some how to help find the right realtor for you. So being that it's a super hot market right now, would you guys be surprised to find out that during this last year, 177 properties that went on the market expired? That means they did not sell.
This is Royal Oak only, right?
This is only Royal Oak, specifically Royal Oak. Yeah, there's a lot more expired.
Right.
We know how.
I didn't know what area.
Yeah. And then, so unconditional withdrawn, there was 485 properties. So those are some shocking numbers, thinking that, you know, we hear all these stories about houses selling so quickly. So if you're looking to sell your property, can you position your property so that you can maximize and get the most amount of money, right? And you don't end up with one of these expireds. House, and I want to talk about this one because I just sold it. Literally, we put it on the market. Within 48 hours, we had 42 showings and 8 offers that were all full price or over asking. So, and everybody thinks, oh, that's the situation I want. But for the seller, how then, with 8 offers, how do you determine which is the best offer? And you really, again, as the agent, you've got to research and find out, is their financing viable? Because deals fall through all the time because of that. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. But even, I remember last week you were mentioning there was an agent that sold a house before it even went on the market, right? Which, that is an awesome, I mean, for me, that's an awesome story to tell. I sold somebody's house before I put it on the market. But ultimately, like, my fiduciary responsibility is to net my client the most amount of money. And I don't know their situation, so I'm not saying what they did was wrong, because it very well, the seller could have said, hey, I just want the first offer, let's sell it, I need out. And that would be in the best interest of their client, right? But for me, even with this house, I could have had it sold before it hit the market because I had buyers lined up. But I knew if it hit the market and we could create this feeding frenzy, that it could drive the price up. So that's what I did. So we launched it, and literally on the first day, I called for highest and best and was able to create this environment. So how do you create a bidding war, right? There is a bit of a secret formula, and this is where having a realtor who knows the industry, this is key. And it's a lot more complicated. I was like trying to think about how to simplify this down. And you literally, if you have 1 or 2 of these pieces missing or slightly off, you're definitely not going to have a bidding war. And even if you have all this, there's no guarantee you're going to have a bidding war, okay? But my job is to position you and set you up so that you have the potential of this happening. Do you guys think that a house would sell for the highest price if it was vacant, if it was lived in, or if it was staged?
Oh, staged. 100%.
Maybe, but you would be surprised how many times I sit in front of a seller and I talk to them about this, and they're like, well, they can't justify the cost of staging it, or they don't want to stage it.
Well, because it's inconvenient for them.
It depends.
That's part of it.
It depends on if they're living there or not. But even if you're living in the house, it's hugely beneficial to have a stager come in and sit down and talk about, okay, which stuff should you leave out? Which stuff should you start packing? There's a fine line with that, though, because I've literally sat in front of clients and said, look, this is my advice to you, and they don't do it. Yeah. And then you're stuck there as a realtor going, oh my gosh, like you mentioned that, why don't they just cut the grass? You'd think they would, but there's a lot of things where we give advice, and also you have to feel, sellers are overwhelmed. Yeah. They're moving, they're looking for a house, they're packing, they're working, they've got kids. The last thing on their plate is like, oh my gosh, now I have to do this other one little thing, which seems simple to us looking at the pictures, but to them, they're overwhelmed. So that's another part of my job, is to help guide them through this process. And yeah, the homes that sell the best and for the highest amount of money are set up like a hotel room where you feel like you could walk in, all of your stuff would go. But it doesn't matter if the paint color is wrong, if your style is off, you're actually creating like a wall for buyers who walk in to see their house. It's having those hard conversations and setting those expectations. And because it's so hard to do, a lot of people don't do it. So they're more interested in like, how do I keep my client happy? It's not always about being happy. It's about how to explain the honest truth and the reality of what's going on. And that's ultimately going to be in the best interest of your client. And that's how we create markets. Like the house that I sold, there was no house that sold for that price. And that's why when we initially priced it, I comped it out. And I said, look, if we can overprice this and we may not get any offers in, but we have to price it according to the comps, what's sold, and then let the market create itself, which is what we did. And then again, we've got all these really cool tools at our fingertips, but how do you interpret this data? There's very few agents who are full-time who study negotiations, who really know these contracts in depth. So that's really important. That's a really good question to ask.
How much continuing education do you do every year to offer negotiation skills, for presentation skills? Like, do you participate in a lot of that type of activity?
I do at least 5 hours a week.
Yeah.
Every single week. Because the real estate industry is constantly changing. Like we're right now shifting into a massive technology based where just how you search for homes is going to change. I not only list properties, but I work with buyers, and both of those help. So because I list properties, I'm also able to see what kind of offers come in and how realtors are interacting. And that helps me on the buy side as well. So when I'm working with a buyer, I can get their offers accepted. We've got all these highest and best situations happen. I know how to get their offer accepted because I know what it takes on the listing side of things. And that's super key. And again, it's not just a simple numbers game. These are complicated transactions. We're not talking about selling a couch on eBay, or Craigslist. Like, this is the largest asset you own. You want to hire a realtor to help you sell a large transaction.